Hello and welcome. This is Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're on day 17 of the Spellbinders Crafty Advent Calendar. If you don't want to know what's in day 17, pause this video, save it for later when you do want to know, because I'm going to open up the window and then we're going to create something with whatever is in the window. So here we have a set of nesting dies with kind of a postage end. It's not all the way around. It almost looks like a ticket stub, but in four different sizes. The middle one, or the smallest one, has an area with a hole in it, so you could easily make like a gift tag with it, or create a gift tag for on the front of a card. So that one is perfect for that. The other ones just have kind of two ticket ends and then two straight ends. So I'm actually not going to use the smallest one for today's video. I'm just going to use the three bigger ones, and I'm going to create or show you how to lengthen the length of these. So first I'm going to use day 6 die set, which is a flower and vase die set, and I'm going to use that with this die set, and I figured I might as well have these flowers already prepped and finished and dry before I want to assemble my card. So I have 3 other flowers that I've glued to their stems, and that was just the last one there. And I'm using Fern Cardstock for the leaves and the greenery, Lilac Blossom and Purple Mist cardstock for the flowers, as well as the mats that I'm going to use the day 17 die set. And I'm also using some Gold Treasure cardstock, the pearl finish one, for some of the layers to add a little bit of a metallic complement to it. So I have the 3 colors I want to use for my layers, and I'm just going to cut them down. So this dark purple piece here, I cut it down to 1 3/8 inches wide, and then later I will cut it to 3 3/4 inch length. The middle one I'm cutting to 1 3/4 inches wide, and then the length of that one will end up being 4 1/4 inches. The lightest color I'm doing 2 1/2 inches wide, and the length is going to be 5 inches long. So I cut them down to a certain length because I wanted them to be longer, and it's easier to deal with these smaller pieces of cardstock. Now, the lightest purple and the gold are just a little bit narrower than the 2 side straight pieces on the dies. The smallest dark purple one is just a hair wider. Now, I gave you those measurements so that they were easy enough to measure to trim them down, but you can trim it a little bit less than the 1 3/8 inch so that it's a hair narrower, and then you can eliminate a step that I have to do right after this. I'm using my Platinum Scout to do my die cutting. I tape that die in place with some with some Best Ever Craft tape, and then when I put it through my machine, I only die cut about halfway into the die, and then I reverse the way my plates are going and pull it out. I don't go all the way through. If you go all the way through, you're going to die cut right through it. Now, by taping this in place, I can make sure that it's not going to shift on me while I'm working on this. So I did the same thing to the other side. Now, when I was placing the paper on those dies, I was making sure that those short ends were just past that die edge, the ticket stub die edge, because I wanted to make sure to get that detail in there. If I didn't want that detail in there, I just would have used my trimmer to just trim it down. Now, because this piece is just a hair wider than that die, there's a little area in the middle that is still attached. So I'm just using my trimmer here, and I'm just using the Guillotine trimmer. This is the 8 1/2 inch one. It's perfect for card making. There are some times when I need a trimmer that is a little bit bigger, but for most things, this is the right size. So I use that just to trim that down so I have a nice straight edge. I'm going to repeat that same process for the other 2 pieces. And like I said before, this piece here and the next piece are just a little bit narrower than the edges of that die. So I don't need to do that step. I only need to do this to the ends of my cardstock. I'm still taping them in place, just making sure that that die isn't going to move. And I place this looking at the back side of my die. I want to make sure that those short ends are just past that ticket stub detail, and I want to tape it in place so that I get that detail in here. It's just a little bit of a different look for creating mats. It just creates something a little bit more unique. And you'll see that I do leave some of the tape on there, and those are pieces that are on the back side. Those pieces are going to get glued down. You're never going to see it, but if it bothers you, you can easily take it off. I just got a little bit lazy there. I do take it off my dies though, and I keep reusing it as much as possible until it stops sticking. Now we can work on the final, the largest of the sizes. And once again, this is a little bit narrower than those blades. So you want to tape it in place, run it through your machine about halfway up the die, and then run it back out. So once again, we're only cutting those end pieces. And this technique will work for many different dies. It doesn't necessarily work for shape dies, but most often you don't need or want to make them longer. Works perfectly for rectangle or square dies or something that has a straight edge. I've seen the odd person be able to do it with like oval dies and lengthening an oval, but sometimes it gets a little bit wonky, the final look, because you also have to make sure to position the die so that when you have straight edges on that oval, it doesn't look weird. So it can get a little bit odd, but for dies that have straight edges, this is a great way to lengthen something. These I'm going to be using as mats on my card, but I also think they could make really cute looking bookmarks. They almost look like racetrack ribbons, or the ribbons that we used to get from doing race days or whatever in elementary school. I might be dating myself because that was a long time ago, but it's just a fun little detail there. So I'm going to layer those die cuts together, gluing them, and then I'm putting my large acrylic block on top of there to hold it in place. I'm going to put my die cuts, my floral die cuts, as well as my vase on top of that. Now I'm going to do a vertical card here, but you could easily just twist your card and make it a horizontal detail on there. Before I start to assemble anything, I'm going to use the stamp from day 13. I'm going to use the hello from the day 13 stamp set using my Misti stamping tool, and I'm going to stamp that hello in Wilted Violet Distress ink just to add a sentiment here. You could even do one of the die cut sentiments that we've gotten within this calendar. Those will work as well, but I wanted to just add a sentiment, and I thought a stamped detail would be a little bit different from the other die cuts that are already on there. I'm just stamping it with colored ink, but you could use embossing ink and then emboss it with embossing powder if you wanted to add that detail. I think it would look great embossed with gold embossing powder as well. So now we can start assembling our card. So I glued down those matted little ticket lengthened pieces there, and then I'm going to start arranging my flowers in my die, or my flowers in my vase. The vase I just placed on there, I didn't glue it in place. I just want to know where my vase is going to go. So then I can easily position my flowers to make sure that those stems are going to go inside the vase or inside the top of the vase. Next, I'm going to glue the second flower down. And this die set has 3 different stem choices. I'm using all 3, but there's one flower. So I die cut that multiple times. And I'm using the same flower for all of the different stems. Before adding my third and final flower, I am going to put those leaves in there. The first one I put to the left, but I changed my mind as soon as I saw the way the second leaf went. So I did move that, and that's the bonus of using liquid glue, is you do have a little bit of wiggle room as well as a little bit of time to change your mind when you're positioning things, and I will regularly do that. Once I have all of the flowers in there, I can add some glue to the back of the vase, and I can put that down here. Now I used the pearl finish for that gold treasure cardstock. If you wanted some more glitter or glitz to it, you could easily use the mirror finish or even the glitter finish. And then you could also add a little bit more sparkle by adding some stickles to the center of the flowers. I think that would look really pretty too. I chose to leave it very simple. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed what was in day 17. I'm going to see you tomorrow for day 18. What do you think is in there? I'll see you tomorrow.